Okay, here we go. I haven't done this in so long.
I believe in you.
I believe in myself.
What was that, like an Old Spice ad?
Yes, I believe in your smell.
Okay,
That's
all right,
weird.
You can do it.
Welcome to Theology Thursday, an ecumenical space for students to discuss matters of faith and theology.
I'm your host, Connor Grubbs.
I am your co-host, Ryan Mock.
And I'm your co-host, Johnny Grubbs.
This just feels right. This is great. We missed you, Ryan.
I'm back.
You were gone for that was like a whole month of episodes.
How was
Ryan.
your journey to the great beyond?
Oh, you're just jumping right into it.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Aren't we discussing that today?
Yeah, we are going to discuss that today. So basically, we had a few guests on. What was funny too is the whole point of the guests was so that this chair wouldn't be empty, but then Johnny didn't show up for most of the episodes.
I had several emergencies.
I think
it was coincidental.
I don't think it was coincidental.
Don't give him a
Johnny
big head.
Really
I'm not
you.
here when Ryan's not here.
Because you need me.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, well, but because it doesn't seem like a coincidence to me that now that Ryan's back, so are
You're
you.
back, yeah.
But that's what a coincidence means. It means
guys,
it just happened to be the same.
No,
think
you
it's
see, listen,
coincidence.
Johnny. Correlation does equal causation.
And I was by myself. I mean, we had a couple great guests, but it is what it is. But I'm glad you're back.
Thanks.
You did a great job with the intro.
Thanks. I was really. This is like 4 weeks pent up inside of me.
Yeah. Were you re-practicing it
in the mirror every morning? I'm like, I knew this is. I'm building up for this. So I really gotta make sure I go in strong. I think I delivered.
Well, you did a great job. This is kind of a crazy week. We're doing a bunch of different episodes and stuff. So I figured for this first episode of you returning, you could just share about your trip. Let's just talk about your trip. So we're not answering any theology questions today. This isn't your typical theology. If this is your first time listening to it, you're going to be like, why are they talking about theology? Usually we answer theology questions. But today we're just going to catch up with Ryan because he's been gone.
Yes. And I do have a few things to talk about as far as theology. Well, just one thing.
Was it kind of a spiritual pilgrimage for you?
So, yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Okay, cool. No, I'd love to. Yeah, let's tie it in. But let's just tell why. First of all, what was the trip? Second of all, why did you do it?
Okay, so I took 19 days out west. I did a road trip out west. So
by yourself?
Yes, this is a solo trip.
Yeah.
By the way, I get a lot of flack for that. People are like, "Did you go alone?" Or you all know that I do this a lot. Actually, I go on a lot of trips alone.
Yeah.
And so
sometimes without telling anybody.
Yeah.
See, my only concern is I'm a safety guy. So I'm just like, what? Who's going to hear you scream? That's my big thing.
Listen, if I'm in the woods and there's a bear, it doesn't matter if there's one of me or there's two people. We're both going to die. Okay?
Yeah.
So
and Johnny and I think it's just a different personality. We were talking about this the other day. I actually completely understand I would probably enjoy going on a road trip by myself too.
Yeah.
Some people just like solitude,
Yeah, a few thoughts on that. I do like going alone because I have a chance to be alone and think to myself, particularly if there's things I need to think about that allows me to do that, but also because it's easy to travel alone, right? You don't I know it sounds selfish, but you don't have any burdens when you travel alone. When you travel with other people, you have to worry about, are they fed? Are they having fun? Do they want to do the things that you want to do? You don't have any of those worries when you travel alone. You just do literally whatever you want. If you want to be a bum and just lay around all day, that's up to you. If you want to go do this crazy thing that other people probably wouldn't want to do, you could go do it because you're alone. So that's one of the reasons why I like traveling around. You have no burdens.
Solitude is a spiritual practice, and I appreciate it. But when I think of solitude, I'm thinking few hours, maybe 2 days,
5 minutes
maybe,
by himself.
Shut up. Maybe 48 hours max.
Yeah, when you take your 5-minute spiritual retreats.
Okay, you know what?
5 minutes of solitude.
I like solitude to an extent, but I can't imagine doing that. What you did.
Yeah, and I was able to talk to people. I talked to a lot of people. And I think that's also one of the benefits of traveling alone is that you have better opportunities to connect with strangers.
Again, the safety thing comes to mind.
But if you think about it, many of the places where I was going to a lot of national parks, and everybody there was there to do the same thing that I was there to do. And so it's actually very easy to connect with other people in those kinds of environments because you all have kind of this common bond when you're out there. So it wasn't hard to make friends out there, I would say, or at least it wasn't hard to strike up conversation. So if you're wondering where I went, most of my days I was hit in national parks out west. I started in San Francisco, and I did one big circle. So I started in San Francisco. I went up the coast of California. I took State Road 1, which is this famous California road that goes right along the coast. It's a really cool road. It reminds me a lot of the Blue Ridge Parkway if you ever driven up there in the Appalachians. It's all windy, it goes up and around the mountains. It's really cool. I took that up to Redwood National Park, and then I went into Oregon. I hit Crater Lake National Park. Beautiful, beautiful park. And then I went over to Portland. I have thoughts on Portland.
I bet you do. Keep Portland weird, yeah?
I said, this sounds bad. There is more homeless than hip there. Portland reminds me a lot of Asheville, actually. If you've ever been to Asheville in North Carolina, Asheville markets itself as this hip town. And I went to Asheville in the summer of 2020, I think, with Billy and Brandon. And we went there, and it just kind of seemed, there are some hip things, but there's just a lot of poverty there as well. And so Portland reminded me a lot of that. It markets itself as this hip city, but there's a lot of poverty there. And I noticed this a lot out west. Out in the east, we're much better at hiding it. We have just as many homeless people, but we were able to hide them. But out west, it's much more open. They have tents like in the middle of the street. So that's just an observation. But those kinds of things are eye-opening. It really makes you have to like look at it and acknowledge it. You can't ignore those kinds of things out there. So I hit Portland. And then I went to Seattle, and then from Seattle I really liked Seattle. From Seattle I went to Mount Rainier National Park, one of my favorite national parks. It was super cool. And then I head eastward to Glacier National Park in Montana, beautiful. And then downwards to Yellowstone. I spent 3 days in Yellowstone because there's so much to do in Yellowstone. And then I went just south of Yellowstone to Grand Teton National Park, super cool. And then I headed back to San Francisco.
Let's pause for a second here.
Yes,
You're going to all these different places, right?
Yes.
You're going to national parks a lot, right?
Yes.
So what is your setup for lodging?
So where did I sleep every night? So one of the things I really like about the West that you don't really see much over on the East Coast over here is that much of the land out there is federally owned as national forests and land that's called that's owned by the Bureau of Land Management, BLM areas. So these are basically just wildernesses out there that are owned by the federal government, and you are allowed to do what's called dispersed camping, which means you're allowed to just find a spot on the side of the road, out of the way, and just camp there for the night. And it's free. You don't have to pay any money. Now, there's not a toilet out there, and there's not like, if you have an RV, there's no place to empty your stuff and whatnot. So it's very, very, very primitive, but it's free.
So
also,
do you have a tent?
Yes, I did have a tent. And so also in these national forests, there's also very cheap campgrounds. We're talking like $10, $15 a night. So I did a mixture of those throughout the whole course of the trip. I basically just camped. There were a few nights where I had to sleep in my car because in the Pacific Northwest, it got rainy. I did make the mistake of setting up my tent one night, not knowing it was going to rain, and then it rained. So I slept in the car, and then by morning time I had to pack up the tent. It was still wet. So I had no time for it to dry. So the next nights after that, I had to continue to sleep in my car. So that was a pain in the butt. It also got really cold. The coldest it got was 27 degrees at night. So I was not prepared for that. I'm a Florida boy. I was not expecting the incredible cold. So
Did you almost die?
I did not almost die.
Okay, that's not as exciting as I hoped it would be. I mean, I don't want you to die, but the idea that maybe you could be on a survival show one day. It was perking me up a little bit.
I did have a scary moment in Yellowstone, though.
Bears.
I was walking down a trail that was to this waterfall. I just left the waterfall. I was all alone, and I hear this growling behind me. There's this deep growl, grrr, and my heart immediately stops because out there you're supposed to carry bear spray. Because we're talking there could be grizzly bears out here. Didn't have any bear spray. I was all alone. And then in front of me, I hear this loud yelp. It almost sounded like a screeching noise, like maybe it's a mountain lion. My heart is like pumping. It's like racing. This was the scariest moment of the whole trip. And I thought I was going to die. I'm perfectly still. And then from around the corner, there's this man, and he's like jogging down the trail. I thought he was running from something at first. And I stopped and I'm like, "Sir, did you hear that noise?" And he said, "Yeah, that was me." What had happened is he was walking down the trail and he saw a large root in the middle of the trail, so he tried to hop over it. But he failed, he tripped, and that was him yelping. And I explained to him how he about gave me a heart attack. And he responded by saying he is a wild man, just ask his cousin. But as long as he has watermelon, he's fine. I was afraid to tell him I did not have watermelon on me.
That's really weird.
And we parted ways.
So here's the part I'm focused on with that story. Bear spray? Does it work like bug spray? What is that?
Well, it's like mace. It's like pepper spray, but like.
Okay, so this isn't
Much
something
bigger.
you spray on yourself to repel the bear. This is something you spray.
That'd be awesome.
This is something you spray on the bear.
I'm reminded of the episode of SpongeBob where SpongeBob and Patrick go camping and they draw a circle around themselves to keep themselves from the sea bear. It doesn't work like that. It's like pepper spray. So the bear charges you. You're supposed to spray the bear like you would spray a cat with water.
Except it's not water.
Except it's not water, and the bear might kill you. So yeah, I didn't have any of that on me. Actually, on that same trail, I got to the entrance of the trail, and there's this couple there that are just standing there, and they approached me, and they're like, "Could we walk with you? Because we're afraid of bears. We don't have any bear spray." I didn't tell them that I also did not have bear spray, but I invited them along. So I have plenty of stories to tell, but it was really fun. There's noises.
Yeah, there's noises in every direction.
Every direction.
Yeah.
Some activity outside.
Some wily people. Maybe a wild man,
Wild
and his
man.
cousin.
Did you lock that door?
I can't remember. I'm a little concerned.
Do you want to go lock it?
Yeah, I'll be right back after these messages.
So sounds like it was a great trip.
It was. I
You
had
had a lot
fun.
of pictures.
I did, yeah.
I looked at every single one of them.
I took close to 3,000 pictures.
Oh, so that
Because-
was just a little bit.
Yeah, that was just a little sneak peek. There was places where I went where it's like every 10 seconds I felt the need to take a picture because it was so scenic. I did that at Glacier National Park. It's like every step is like a different picture I could take.
Can you edit? This door does not look locked to me either. This is wide open.
You know, Johnny,
I don't know. It wasn't me.
Johnny, you're so concerned about safety, but I really feel like I am in more danger here than I was out in many of those places.
Is everything okay?
Oh, I didn't look. I just
Oh.
locked the door. I don't really want to know.
Your voices. Make sure the truck is locked.
So there is a fire truck and 2 police cars. I'm probably giving medical attention to some homeless man out there.
Yeah, if it's a fire truck, then there's probably some
Yeah.
medical going on.
Probably some. Yes. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Any other questions generally about my trip, what I did and what I saw?
Did you have any spiritually awakening experiences? I know it's kind of a nebulous question.
Did you like start speaking in tongues at any point?
Yeah, one time I woke in the middle of the night and there's this strange man hovering over me. He might have been homeless, I don't know, but he explained to me my life for the next 50 years, and no, that didn't happen. Did I have any spiritual moments? I think I had one, or maybe it could have just been really excited. I don't know. I've never been to the Pacific Ocean, and my first night, I was halfway between San Francisco and Redwood, and so I had stayed in this state park, not a national park, Manchester State Park, which is literally right on the beach. My campsite wasn't on the beach, but it was a 5-minute walk to the beach, and so I walked to the beach. And for some reason, along the West Coast, I saw this often. There's a lot of driftwood on the beach, and so people would make tiny little huts. I posted a picture on Facebook. One of those pictures is me sitting in one of those huts, and the sun was setting, and I was just sitting there. I was all alone. There was nobody in sight. Nobody was out there. Just me and the beach, and I just decided to start reading Scripture. And I read a small portion of Genesis, and then I read a small portion of the crucifixion story in John, and then I read a small portion from Hebrews. And for some reason, I just got incredibly emotional. I don't know why. Maybe it is just because I was in this very radical. Very radical circumstance. I certainly, it was not normal for me to be sitting on the beach over on the Pacific Ocean since I don't live over there. So certainly I was in an abnormal situation, and I don't know. It just felt really powerful to me. If I was to say I had a spiritual moment, that was it. That was the first night there. So the question that I asked myself on this epic journey was, is this trip a spiritual pilgrimage? And the reason why I asked myself that is because I've just been going through so much the past few months. I'm in a transition phase in my life. I'm thinking all these crazy things. So I think, the logical question for me was, is this some kind of spiritual pilgrimage? And I think that's what a lot of people might have been thinking back home. Something I would have to answer for. Is this a spiritual pilgrimage? And I had decided that during this trip I would read a book, nothing too deep or thorough. I wanted to be a little more just devotional in nature. I don't really get to read many books like that. So I decided to read The Imitation of Christ by Thomas Kempis. That's how you pronounce his last. Yes, Thomas Kempis. A very old book.
Very good book, too.
Yes.
You should read
he
it.
is Catholic, but don't let that stop you.
Don't hold that against the boy.
Yes. Actually, I was reading the book, and at some points I'm like, he almost sounds like a Calvinist.
He does.
Yeah. And then I read something about the saints. I'm like, oh, yeah, thanks for reminding me you are Catholic. Because Calvinists don't talk about saints,
Unless they're talking about perseverance of the saints, am I right?
Or John Calvin, the one saint, So I read that book during the trip, a very good book, and it actually helped me answer this question. And so about halfway through the trip, I actually came to my conclusion. Is this a spiritual pilgrimage? And I decided that no, this was not. And the reason why I came to this conclusion is because I really feel like, and this is made very apparent in the book, Imitation of Christ, is that spiritual pilgrimage is about self-denial. The opposite of self-indulgence. We grow closer to Christ when we deny ourselves. And I really felt like during this trip, even halfway through the trip, while I was still thinking through this, that this trip was very self-indulgent for me. It really was a vacation. The whole time I was was thinking about my next location, right? I was thinking about where I was going to sleep that night. I was thinking about what kind of sights I was going to see at my next place, my next destination, what I was going to eat, how my finances were doing since I'm dropping all this money. So the whole time I was really thinking a lot about myself. And so I think I was being very self-indulgent. And I actually think that really that kind of trip, a road trip like that, especially when you're alone, I don't think it can be a spiritual pilgrimage because you have to think about all these kinds of things. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think your vacations have to be a spiritual pilgrimage. But I'm saying mine certainly wasn't. And I'm fine with that. I am willing to recognize it was just an epic vacation. It was a good vacation. I did a lot of thinking, but it was not contemplation. It wasn't deep contemplation. It was thinking more of things about myself and things for myself. And again, that's not a bad thing. It's just the way that it was. Certainly, as I already noted before, I did have my God moments. Things that like really brought me awe, and I really felt the presence of God, I think. But the trip as a whole was just a really nice vacation.
And nice vacations are good things.
And nice vacations are good things.
Yes, indeed.
They're healthy for you, and you can learn things on them, and still have those
fun.
moments. And
God's still with you.
He never left me. Yep.
Well, I feel like I went on a pilgrimage just now. Not a spiritual one per se, but I feel like we've gone on a journey with you.
Yes.
Today.
Come along with me.
On this journey.
On this journey through the inner machinations of my mind. Milk carton.
Well.
Okay.
That was a SpongeBob reference. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You know, Ryan.
I haven't watched as much SpongeBob as you guys, apparently.
Yeah. Well, you need to catch up, young sir.
Yeah.
Do
Sorry.
do
Go
your
ahead.
homework.
Talk to Ryan.
Yeah, we're not talking to you right now.
Okay, I'll just.
This is an A and B conversation, so you can see your way out.
Ooh. Did I learn anything on this? You're asking I'm actually asking the question here. Did I learn anything?
Yeah.
on this
What
trip?
did you learn?
Yeah. I learned that the food out west was not very impressive. That was one of the questions my mom asked me: is how's the food out there? I was kind of underwhelmed. I had a lot of burgers. A lot of my food was around these national park areas, and a lot of it was overpriced and underwhelming. I had an $18 burger at where was I? I was at Glacier National Park.
The McDonald's at Glacier National Park.
No, it's just like this cafe, and they had an 18. It was a bison burger actually. Like I've never had bison before, and I'm just like, this is an okay burger. So that's number one thing I learned. Number two thing that I learned is that I love being alone. I love my solitude, but I also really like community. 19 days is a long time to be a solo writer. There was a few moments where I'm like, I am such a loser. and I know a little bit of self-pity here, but this is kind of funny though. I went to Seattle. I actually spent 2 days in Seattle. The first day I went to Pike's Market, which is this like famous market where they throw fish. You could look up on YouTube later. They throw the fish, and it's cool.
Oh, that's why that
I'm familiar
Muppet
with that.
throws fish.
I don't think that's why the Muppet throws fish, but yeah, it almost certainly has nothing to do with that. They actually wrote a book about that once, how like the principles of like how that market came to be and why that became a thing should be applied to every business.
Oh, nice. So they should have fish thrown at every business.
No, but they should make the environment fun and creative, and not like all like.
Well, it was fun and it was creative. So
And you don't think the Muppet New Zealand embodies that? He has boomerang fish.
Yeah, but
And
these
they-
fish there were not boomerang.
I
You
get
throw
that.
them
they're
one
not
way, they don't
boomerangs,
come
and
back.
also like what.
I think he's from Seattle. I think I'm discovering that tonight, but we'll talk about it
There is
later.
also a wall of gum there.
That's
They call it the
disgusting.
gum wall.
Absolutely
You go up there,
disgusting.
take a little piece, kind of.
What?
Oh man, Ryan.
It's like from Elf, you
yes,
know.
I hate that part. That's like the worst part of the movie.
I don't like it. I did not partake in the gum wall.
But did you contribute to the gum wall? Did you add to it?
I'm sad to say I was not able to contribute. Anyways, going back to my story.
I would not be sad to
So
say
I
that.
went to Pike's Market, and then out on the pier they have this big Ferris wheel, and you go on there's the Seattle Aquarium.
Did you find a nice girl to take on the Ferris wheel?
Gosh, I wish I did. I actually went on this Ferris wheel alone.
Ryan, come on. You could have asked anybody. You could have
This
said,
is
listen.
what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Like, I felt like a loser. I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, everybody else is like in a group or they're like a couple. I'm just there like going on the Ferris wheel.
You should have been just like, I'm on this like solo spiritual pilgrimage.
The Holy Spirit's with me.
Would you like just so I can have somebody to ride with?
Yeah, I felt like a total loser, and then I'm like, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that? And then I went to the aquarium, and the aquarium was a little bit better because it's all crowded, so you could blend in. But I'm like, this is really a group activity.
Just kind of start holding somebody's hand in the crowd.
Yeah, and then I get punched. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still, I like fishes. They threw the fish.
I'm glad you like fishes.
So anyways, yeah. My point was,
That
yeah.
you
You're a
learned that
loser.
community's important.
yeah, I learned I'm a loser.
No, I'm just kidding.
But
19 days.
19 Ryan is the
All
biggest
to-
loser. But yeah, I love community as well.
Well, we love you too, Ryan.
I love me too. Thank you.
You know what? You know what our listeners haven't heard you say in a minute?
Shiver me timbers.
Nope.
I don't know what. Tell me.
I can't tell you. Ruin the secret.
I've been gone for
Come
19
here.
days. I can't. Oh, that one.
Yeah, that one.
Ah.
Wait, don't say it yet. We're going to talk about the most recent developments on the SBC Executive Committee on our after show. So if you're a Patreon, then you can go check that out. If you're not,
You don't want to be for that.
and you want to sign up. We've been talking about that sometimes on the main show, sometimes on the Patreon. We're going to catch up on that. So now you can say it.
Yeah, yeet.
Oh, there we go.